You got a couple of Japanese players who I think are being posted. Is it just a pipeline to the Dodgers if they want them?
I don't anticipate that this offseason because if you look at I think it's twofold. Number one, if you look at what the Dodgers need, of course they could always use another starting pitcher, but among the four that they had starting for them this postseason with Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, and Shohei Ohtani. You add to that two more guys on their roster, Justin Wrobleski and Roki Sasaki, who are starting pitchers. And you throw Gavin Stone and River Ryan coming back from major arm surgeries in there. The Dodgers have pitching depth, like real pitching depth, frankly, from which they can trade. And Murakami, they just picked up Max Muncy's option. Now that does not keep them from pursuing Munetaka Murakami, who is a massive power left-handed hitter, hit 56 home runs in a season, 22 years old, and has a chance, just an enormous ceiling. But between him and Tatsuya Imai, who's a right-hander who's about Yamamoto's size and has that kind of high-octane fastball, really good command and good off-speed stuff as well, I think the bigger thing, Dan, other teams want Japanese players too. Other teams understand there's enormous talent to be mined in Japan, and you're not going to get those top-end guys in the future if you haven't illustrated in the past that you're a landing spot for Japanese players, that you are friendly to the Japanese culture, that you understand the mindset of Japanese players coming over. The Dodgers, one of the best things that they did was corner the market in Japan and say, we want everyone in Japan to be wearing Dodger blue. It was brilliant, not just in a baseball sense, but in a financial sense as well. And I think all the other teams around the league are like, well, if you can't beat them, join them.
Japanese slugger Munetaka Murakami is posted today. That's per multiple reports. That will open up a 45-day window for major league clubs to negotiate with Murakami and his Japanese club. The 25-year-old corner infielder is considered one of the most significant bats to come over from Japan in recent years. In 2022, he set the NPB single-season record for Japanese-born players with 56 home runs, breaking the record set by the great Sadaharu Oh back in 1964. Our MLB expert Jim Bowden here for even more on the Munetaka Murakami news. And Jim, my first question to you is, if you just heard all the news and the noise going down in our newsroom when this Murakami news came out, if everyone's saying, well, what exactly is posting? I'm sure there's a lot of folks at home right now who hear us say that and they don't understand it fully. Can you explain to all the folks, like we might be children, what posting means and what this says going forward?
Yeah, so over in Japan in the NPB League, the Tokyo Cyclone Swallows is the team that Murakami has been in. And so they have now posted him, which means all 30 major league clubs can bid on him beginning on Saturday morning. Now, he is 25 years old. Now, why is that significant? Because the rules say if you're under 25, then you are restricted with the international pool system, something that Roki Sasaki of the Dodgers was limited to last year, which means you could only make between $4 to $9 million. Because he's 25 years old, this becomes an open bidding war. Now, what does posting mean? Well, what it means to the Tokyo team is they're going to get 20% of his contract for the first $25 million that he signs for. They're going to get 17.5% on the next $25 million. And anything over $50 million, he's going to get well beyond $50 million. They're going to get 15%. So the Tokyo team is going to get a lot of cash in there, not just Murakami. So that's what the posting system means.
So if we're talking all this kind of money, you're saying you're expecting him to get over $50 million. What type of player is Murakami? Who are we looking at here?
Yeah, so I think he'll get somewhere between 100 and 200 million. I know that's a big range, but you just don't know what teams are going to do. This is a legitimate, ridiculous power hitter, right? He does profile as a 30 to 40 home run type guy. Think of the power of Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso. That's the kind of power, and maybe even more. The raw power is ridiculous. Now, what comes with him is a good on-base percentage. He'll walk, but the problem with the player, he's got a lot of swing and miss. got a lot of strikeouts. He's going to strike out once every 3 times in the big leagues, at least. Now, he could develop here. He could cut that down in time. We'll have to find out. But that's a weakness. But you make a mistake in the zone, he's going to hurt you, and he's going to hurt some upper deck seats. Now, in terms of defensively, he's a third baseman slash first baseman. He has played both positions. He's also dealt with a lot of injuries. This past year, he had elbow surgery, had an oblique injury, but still hit 24 homers in 69 games. Now, when you look at Murakami, below average defense at third, but with a lot of work, he could develop into a Max Muncy type defensive third baseman. If not, you could put him at first base and work him there. Again, maybe a Josh Naylor type defensive player at first base. Not great, but probably will be able to hold his own. But he's a young kid. I've got to watch him for many years. I actually called in the last World Baseball Classic. I called his games. Loved watching him in BP. It's a very loud noise coming off the bat. So there's going to be a lot of teams that step up here, Zach. And I think the teams to watch, without a doubt, include the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Seattle Mariners, and the Boston Red Sox. I would start with those 4 teams.
So I'll delve a little bit deeper into the teams that he might end up landing with a little bit down the road. But I'm curious most about player comp, because you mentioned the power of Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso, maybe a little bit of defensive deficiencies in his game. Who do you look at right now and say, this is who he's closely modeled after?
Yeah, I mean, it's confusing because of the strikeouts, right? That takes most comps away. I would say the floor is probably a Max Muncy player, right? So not a guy that's going to hit 2, 3, 4 in your lineup, but more of a guy that can hit in the 5 spot or the 6 spot and give you that big power. But he will get on base. And, you know, I think he's a developmental kind of player. I think there's more of a window. But I would say that's the floor, and I would say the ceiling is probably, and I have to go back in time to find him, but maybe Harmon Killebrew.
We've been down this road before with the Dodgers, seeing them just open up the pocketbook, get whoever they want, and they bring them over and they continue to win. Why in this situation can you convince me, and can you convince me that it won't be the Dodgers? And I know you mentioned a few other teams.
Well, I'm not going to convince you of that because they have built such a strong group of Japanese players, from Shohei Ohtani to Hiroki Sasaki to Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the MVP of the World Series. And to bring over a young guy like Murakami, why wouldn't he want to play with all the players he played for in Japan? Why wouldn't he? Now, the other thing for the Dodgers, people are going to say, well, they just picked up Max Muncy's $10 million club option. Sure they did. They could also trade him, right? They could trade him to one of these teams that need a third baseman, like the Mariners, who would certainly love to trade for Muncy with that affordable salary they has. The other thing the Dodgers could say is, we'll start the year with Muncy as our third baseman. We'll bring Murakami over to develop so that he can take over the position full-time in 2027 when Muncy comes off the books. Everything points to that being the perfect spot for him. So I'm not going to talk you off of that, just because I know if I'm that player, who wouldn't want to go to a team that just won the last 2 World Series with 3 of your friends being a very important part of that team? So I'm not going to convince you. I think the Dodgers have to be heavy favorites to land him.
25歳、その若さで彼はすでに日本野球の象徴となった村上宗隆。そして今メジャーリーグの中心で彼の名が再び注目を集めている。なぜドジャースなのか。理由は単純だ。このチームこそが彼に最もふさわしい場所だからだ。数字がそれを裏付けている。村川は日田丸に2年56本塁打を放ち、王政史の記録を塗り替えた。出垒率4割1分6厘、長打率7割1分8厘。日本プロ野球の歴史の中でこれほどの打撃を見せた選手はほとんどいない。パワーと選球眼、その両方を兼ね備えた私有な存在だ。ドジャースは2025年、チーム打率が2割1分8厘。それでも優勝できたのは投手力と守備力がずば抜けていたからだ。だが3連覇を狙うにはもう一段階上の火力が必要になる。村川はその答えを持っている。彼が3番または4番に入るだけで打線全体の圧力は劇的に変わる。大谷翔平、フレディ・フリーマン、そして村上宗隆。この3人が並んだ時、相手投手に逃げ道はない。打線の破壊力はメジャーでも異次元のレベルに達する。そしてドジャースには村上がすぐに適応できる文化と環境がある。すでに大谷翔平、山本由伸、 佐々木朗希といった日本人選手が中心にいる。ロサンゼルスのクラブハウスでは日本語と英語が自然に混ざり合い、通訳や専属トレーナー、栄養士などのサポート体制が整っている。それは単なる優しさではなく、勝つための仕組みだ。球団全体が日本人選手を理解し、受け入れ、最大限の力を引き出すように設計されている。村上はその中で精神的なストレスなくプレーできる。そして何よりも大きいのは、彼がすでにドジャースの中心選手たちと信頼関係を築いていることだ。侍ジャパンで共に戦った経験がその絆を証明している。大谷、山本、佐々木と同じ目標を見てきた村上が加わることは単なる補強ではない。チームの哲学を共有する仲間がもう一人増えるということだ。ドジャースは25年ぶりの連覇を達成し、今は歴史の次のページに立っている。3連覇。それはどのチームにとっても遠い夢だが、ドジャースにはその現実的な基盤がある。しかし主力のベッツとフリーマンは30代に入り、チームの平均年齢も上がっている。このタイミングで若く爆発力を持つ主砲を迎えることはチーム再構築の最も理想的な形になる。村上が加入すればドジャースは攻撃面の世代交代を滑らかに行える。そして彼の持つリスクを恐れない打撃スタイルはデータよりも瞬間の判断を重視するドジャースの戦略にぴったりと重なる。彼のスイングには理論があり、感情がある。その一振りがチームの流れを変える力を持っている。経済的にも村上の加入は完璧なタイミングだ。ドジャースはすでに日本市場を支配している。大谷の移籍以降、日本でのグッズ売り上げは3倍に増え、視聴率は過去最高を記録。アナリストたちは言う。ドジャースは日本中をドジャーブルーに染めた。この流れの中に村上が加わることは自然な流れだ。それはスポーツを超えた経済と文化の融合でもある。村上に満たしは大谷翔平の光の中に立つ選手ではない。彼は次の章を始める存在だ。大谷が象徴であり、山本が軸であるなら、村語はその物語に火をつける力となる。3人の日本人スターが同じユニフォームを着る日。それはメジャー150年の歴史の中でも一度もなかった。その瞬間こそ野球が真にグローバルスポーツへと進化する証になる。ドジャースはアメリカのチームではなく世界のチームになる。そしてその中心に立つのが村上らに隆だ。彼が加わればロサンゼルスの夜空はもう一度輝く。その光は勝利だけでなく未来を照らす光になる。そして見たまるに6年、ロサンゼルスの青が再び週月の空を染める。3度目の歓声が響くその時、世界は新しい王朝の誕生を目撃するだろう。